This will be a shorter video that is entirely voiceover, but nevertheless I hope it can provide some meaningful insight to those who are curious about certain aspects of animism and animistic practices. Today I will be discussing ideas of consent and personhood in nature in the context of interactions between humans and the natural world. Human society and culture is oriented around consumption. Nature and the living beings within nature are often designated as objects through language and ritualistic othering, and they are consumed without remorse. One can see how this notion is enforced through language, positioning them this way through the use of it, denying them their personhood and autonomy. Even those engaged in nature spiritualities or practices are sometimes beholden to these influences and engage in this behavior on a completely subconscious level. It takes time and practice to unlearn these modes of thinking and to open ourselves up to positive interaction with the earth. Human instinct is another motivating factor in this type of behavior. There's one instinct in particular that I will be focusing on today. The nature of the unpredictable often leaves most with a sense of unease. Humans are pattern-seeking animals. This fact gets thrown around quite a lot in online discussion and pop science articles. The ability to recognize trends in nature, the weather, and one another provides the human animal with a sense of control and stability in their environment. Because if they can predict something, they can either avoid or control it. This evolutionary trait, among many others, has led to their success and proliferation as a species as they were first establishing their place in the world. But when you remove an animal out of the environment where these traits were necessary for that animal's survival, these instincts begin to take on new meanings. Their expressions and associations change. Without a healthy instinctual outlet, humans often begin attributing these instincts to the arbitrary. What was once a useful adaptation, which led to success, may now hinder one's ability to be fully open to the world with a clear and authentic perspective. When we start seeking patterns or meaning in things in which there are or is none, we seek to impart our own, effectively attempting to orient reality around us. An example of this behavior as it relates to animism and nature paths can be seen in how the human animal will attribute everyday circumstances or encounters with nature as signs. The sighting of a particular species of bird, seeing a non-human animal at a specific time of day, or finding a strange-looking mineral in a peculiar location while out on a hike. It is an excessively common trend in today's world. Not only are these encounters not signs under the modern framework, it has the unintended effect of closing the human animal off from what could be learned by these encounters. But let me explain. Simply put, nature doesn't exist for you. You exist in nature as part of the weave, living in and through this world, but it simply doesn't and won't orient itself around you. You are just another soul among so many, and you play an equal part in the dance of life and death. The deer you saw on the cliff, the strangely colored flower, and the bird who flew too close to you don't exist for you. They are living their own independent lives, just as you were living yours, and you were able to share a moment with them as your threads became momentarily intertwined. When a person takes these kinds of encounters and attributes arbitrary meaning to them, with the assertion that the other soul must have a message for them, or was meant to show them something specific as it pertains to the events in their own life, that person is orienting that soul's existence around themselves, effectively denying that soul their personhood, autonomy, and right to exist without you being a factor in their existence, as if their existence requires your presence to justify it. The mind becomes framed around the idea that nature only exists to serve you, and that every other living being only exists to serve you, to benefit you, to help you achieve your goals, or some other selfish assertion. And to be very frank, it is a form of selfishness that positions all life beneath humanity. The unfortunate consequence of this type of perspective is that if that being had something to share with you, you wouldn't be able to hear them. By framing their presence as automatically something there to benefit you, it will not be possible to have an open and honest space held between the two of you. Saying all of this is not to imply that nature does not teach us. She does, and we have so much to learn from the natural world and all of the other lives that we share this weave with. In animism, our goal is to authentically communicate with the natural world, to take on perspectives that are foreign to us, see the world through new eyes, and learn of joys and pains that we would have no ability to otherwise. But in order to do so, we have to be open and able to listen in earnest when these connections present themselves to us. Not every being you cross paths with will have something to share with you, and they shouldn't be expected to. But you can and will find other souls that are open to a mutual sharing of energy and experience. The operative word is mutual. Respect should be maintained in every interaction. Non-human life, plants, and the very earth should be treated with respect and left as you found them. Whatever wisdom is imparted should be seen as a gift, because they are not obligated to provide that gift to you just because you happen to be there. Consent is key when seeking knowledge from the natural world. We should strive to do no harm and to respect the time and energy we are given, and that way we may actually learn something. Over time, and with more experience with being fully vulnerable in nature, we will learn to identify the proper signs when an exchange is actually intended. They should never be forced, and your desires and interests should never cloud what communication is had. If you have the desire to take, you must give, and if you are not ready to give, you may not take. This understanding should also be applied to situations in which we come into contact with pieces of nature that are no longer part of their original whole. A branch from an oak, a tooth from a coyote, or a mineral from a river. Just because these pieces are no longer part of their former whole does not mean that you can take and do with them as you wish. They are not merely objects, but pieces of those who once were. Their energies remain in various degrees, to which you will understand better as you practice authentic listening. One should always ask if they are ready to go with you. If they consent, and once they have gone with you, they should be able to consent to any modification to their original form. The practice of making a wand from yew should only be done with the yew spirit's consent. The addition of a fur, claw, or tooth to regalia should always be done with the spirit's consent. The concepts of mutuality and openness still apply, and one should be listening for their answer. If they are sleeping, let them sleep. If they say no, respect their wishes. Move on and do no harm. You would only wish the same kindness to be offered to you in your own passing. When you are in need and when you are able to listen, nature can and will come to you. But nature does not serve you. She does not serve your desires. She will not be beholden to your wants. Learning to acknowledge individuality in the natural world will help to better frame your mind and put you into a position where you can openly learn from the life around you. I know this video was rather short, but it's a subject that I believe needs to be talked about more. We must be aware of our biases and how they affect the lives around us. If we are to live in harmony with the natural world, we should understand that we are no greater and no lesser than any other form of life. We are all part of the same weave, and we all have a part to play. Extending respect to and recognizing personhood in nature will better position us to learn with our hearts and get the most out of our short time here in a way that is in balance with all things. If you have any suggestions or topics that you would like to hear about from an animist perspective, please let me know. And if you would like to share a time where you had a mutual interaction that changed your perspective in life, I would love to hear about it. So, I recorded this while very sick, but I liked the sound of my voice, so I persevered. I'd like to do more videos on these kinds of topics, and look forward to recording more as I finally have the time and space to be able to do so. I know that my tone can be very stern at times, but that's just because I'm old, grumpy, and done with humanity shit at this point. I'm not here to debate anybody. I'll share my perspective on things, and if someone doesn't like it, they can go watch or listen to someone else. I will never compromise on my passion for non-human life, or compromise on my perspective regarding the injustice that is enacted on non-humans and all of nature. As a non-human person myself, this is something I live and witness while existing temporarily in the human world. I will not relent on these topics, and neither should you. We have ways to help make things better, and we should do what we can when we can.